Our next speaker has won 28 Emmys, is currently the host of a show on PBS and another on the Science Channel, and he's the author of 5 books. His mission is to foster a scientifically literate society. Please welcome to the Up Experience scientist, engineer, comedian, author, and inventor, Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Am I the only guy wearing a bow tie here? Anyone? Well, suit yourselves. But I was presented with this story that it was as true when I was very young. And here, I'll just plug this in. Still fresh for me, still fresh. My grandfather was in the Rotary, a do-gooder community organization, and they had a conference in Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, and my understanding was the conference was in Philadelphia on purpose. I don't know. And he didn't know, that's a joke. Some of my best friends and so on. He didn't know how to tie the bow tie. They rented a tuxedo. You wore a tuxedo in those days. It was the old days. So he would go to the hotel room next door, knock on the door, excuse me, I don't know how to tie the tie. Can you help me? Total stranger says yes. Lie down on the bed. So the story goes that my grandfather lay down on the bed and the guy tied a perfect bow tie knot. And my grandfather, story goes, said, well, thank you. But he followed it up. You know, why'd I have to lie down on the bed? The guy said, I'm an undertaker. Is that a true story? Maybe. You know, I guess it's a true story. But this next part is true. This is Venus and the Earth. Well, actually, that's a picture of Venus and the Earth. If we had Venus here, your eye would go right to it. You would notice it. Venus and the Earth are very, very similar planets. People in astronomy call them sister planets. Let's say that this picture of the sun represents the sun, and then this picture of the Earth represents the Earth, and so on. You'll see in astronomy we say the Earth is 1 astronomical unit from the sun. Mars is 2.5. Venus is around, Mercury's less than half as far, half an astronomical unit, and Venus is about 0.7 astronomical units. Now, if you've ever done this, if you stand twice as close to the fire, it feels much warmer than if you're fully twice as far away. And normally, shooting from the hip, we have this fabulous thing discovered in physics called the inverse square law. You would expect if you were twice as far away that it would be it'd be a quarter as warm. Well, Mercury is indeed very hot on the sun side, 350 Celsius, so on. The Earth, you know, is around melting point of water on the sun side. It might be 5 or 6 Celsius. Well, Venus is 600 Celsius. Venus is hot enough to melt lead on the surface of Venus. Surface of Mars, by the way, if you're down here at the equator on a summer day on Mars, it's right around freezing. Up here, where the highest you could reach, it's 20 Celsius below zero because the atmosphere is so thin. Well, on Venus, the atmosphere is so thick that not only is it hot enough to melt lead, wait, there's more. They have sulfuric acid rain. Sulfuric acid rain. I hope you played this game as a little kid where you can't stand on the floor because it's like lava. Yeah, it's really like that. Oh, wait, the rain doesn't even hit the ground because the ground is so hot it evaporates before it gets to the surface. And the difference between these planets is the air. The atmospheres of the 3 planets create this situation. Mercury's too hot, Venus is way too hot, Mars is too cold, and the Earth is just right. And it's the atmospheres that create this situation. So the atmosphere turns out to be a huge story when it comes to climate. Now, the Earth's climate is changing. No matter what the cause might be, the Earth's climate is changing, and I'm here to tell you the reason is the humans. And if you look at the Earth from space, you don't even see the atmosphere on the wide shot. You got to get in close enough by close I mean 120 nautical miles, 200 kilometers, and look at it edge on, and then you can see that the atmosphere is thin. It is crazy thin. As my old professor Carl Sagan used to say, it's like the layer of varnish on a globe. It's that thin. Yet it is the atmosphere that allows us to breathe and walk around and throw frisbees and fly kites, and maybe go to Houston on an airplane. So the atmosphere turns out to be a hugely significant thing, and its change is changing the world. The last 10 years are the 10 warmest years on record. You can get this information either from the Australia Climate Ministry, from the Union of Concerned Scientists, or the Mythic Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The last 10 years are the warmest so far. And furthermore, here during 2010 is the warmest year. It will be the warmest year of the 11. 2010, the world is going to go up about 0.69 Celsius since these records were kept back in 1879. 0.69 doesn't sound like much, but when you have a whole Earth full of it, it's an enormous amount of energy. Now, I found when I'm in the United States, which we are now, you meet people that don't believe in climate change. It's unique to the United States. There's nowhere else in the world where you have this phenomenon where so many people are just can't get their minds around it. If you don't believe in climate change, I strongly encourage you to do what I did. Go to the Ice Core Lab in Glendale, Colorado. Not Glendale, California. That is, as we say, a whole nother thing. Glendale, Colorado is a suburb of Denver, and there is this building, an airplane hangar-sized building, or bigger, full of pieces of ice drilled out of the Antarctic ice sheet, Siberian ice sheet, the Greenland ice sheet, these cylinders, 10 meters long, 30 feet or so long, of ice. And you look at them closely, and you can determine an amazing amount of information about the past. When I was there, the head guy is Todd Hinckley. I asked him, Dr. Hinckley, why did you choose minus 37 Celsius for this building? Is that to balance the eutectic point, the evaporation of certain neutron-bearing oxygen isotopes? No, but we didn't pick it. I grabbed the thermostat and turned it all the way down. Dude, it's as cold as it'll go. That's it. That's the end of the story. Okay. Anyway, you wander around in the ice room, and it is, if I may say in young people's parlance, freaking cold. All right. Then you go into the warm room, where it's only 17 below. Oh, this is great. You take off your face mask. Oh, this is fabulous. For a few moments, you can take your mittens off. Oh, it's cool. So cold. Anyway, when you look at these pieces of ice, which generally they cut in half longitudinally, long ways, you can see the layers. It's much, much easier than counting tree rings, much easier. The layers are about that far apart, 10 centimeters or so, and they're a result of the snowfall each year packing down the ice. The tines of the snowflakes break, and in so doing, release a little mechanical energy as heat, and it melts the surrounding snowflakes, and they turn clear as glass. And the process, I love this word, it's called regelation. It regels into clear ice. And then you look closely at the ice, and you can see often grains of sand. These grains of sand in Greenland were blown there from the Gobi, from a desert in China, and you can identify it by looking at the sand grains very closely with the mass spectrometer, like I know a lot of you have in your cars, and you can see exactly where they came from. Furthermore, you see these little, you see these little bubbles. These, if I may, wait, one more, okay, Bill, don't blow it. Steady, careful. Yeah, you see these tiny bubbles in the ice. Hey, by the way, I saw Don Ho perform in Hawaii at a teacher convention. He was very charming. He said, I've sung that song every night for 30 years. And then he had this cool little comedy pause, and he said, I hate that song. He was really funny about it. I don't think he's singing anymore. He's not alive, so I don't think he's singing. He might be, but it was really good. Anyway, you look at the bubbles in the ice, and they are bubbles of ancient atmosphere trapped between the tines of the snowflakes. That's the only way the bubbles got there. What would you be doing if you weren't at the UP conference today? That's right, you'd be watching CSI. That's right. Okay, you'd be watching CSI Houston, CSI Victoria, you'd be CSI Snyder, Big Spring. I used to work in the oil patch. CSI Hobbs, New Mexico. It's coming. All right. Anyway, when the bubbles are in there, the only way the bubbles could get there is if they were trapped hundreds and thousands of years ago. And you count the layers, you can find it exactly. All right, you take the bubbles to your mass spectrometer and you count neutrons. Who wouldn't? When the sea surface is warmer, actually counterintuitively, the lighter weight oxygen-bearing water, H2O, evaporates faster. And they correlate these data exactly with exotic organizations like the U.S. Navy and people like that who have kept track of the sea surface temperature perfectly for centuries. They have the old thermometers from even the 18th century, and they're dead on accurate. They're beautifully made instruments. And so they can compare their modern data with those data, have confidence, and then extrapolate into the past to be very confident. The world has never gotten this warm this fast ever. That's it. So you could run in circles screaming, the world's getting warmer! Ah! You can try that. And this is the approach, as near as I can tell, that my old boss thought was great. That's how he ran things. Oh, did you know him? Yeah. Oh, you worked for the same organization. Yeah. Or we could change the world. So this is the Golden Gate Bridge. Actually, it's a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. If we had the Golden Gate Bridge, your eye you'd go right to it. You wouldn't even. I'd be dwarfed. We all would. The Golden Gate Bridge is made of steel. Steel was the state of the art when the Golden Gate Bridge was built. It's cool. It's fabulous. But I had the great privilege of meeting Rick Smalley. Now, Rick Smalley worked at Rice University. He was a chemist. He was asked by the astronomy department, what are these molecules we're seeing in deep space? He told the story beautifully, eloquently, geniusly, that he woke up at 3 in the morning, Professor Moss. He woke up and it hit him that it was the same pattern of carbon atoms that you see on the pattern of a traditional soccer ball. White hexagon, black pentagon, hexagon, pentagon. And there's 60 nodes, 60 interstices, and it's a sphere. And Rick Smalley realized if we could take these spheres and stretch them this way. By the way, these are the size of molecules. You're not really that well suited for playing soccer. You stretch them this way. It's really small, Lilliputian. Stretch them like this, and you get these tubes. These tubes, which are nominally called nanotubes, that's not the best usage, sorry, generally called nanotubes, are 10,000 times stronger than steel. What, Bill, I'm sorry, I thought you said, I did. I said 10,000 times stronger than steel, but they would only weigh a sixth as much. So Rick Smalley said the key to the future is not to do less. See, I grew up with Earth Day. I grew up with hippies and that smell. Okay? And they want you to do less. They want you to drive less. They want you to use less clean water. Yes, wear dirty clothes. In fact, really the best thing, just don't even eat. Don't eat. Humans are bad. Humans don't belong in the ecosystem. They're evil. But wait, I'm a human. Yes, I know. But you should get out of here. All right. Rick Smalley said that that is not going to be popular, doing less. He said, what we have to do, we have to find ways to do more with less. And this is where I want you, Texas business people, to, dare I say it, change the world. If you told my father that you could plant ryegrass in a wheat field using information transmitted to the tractor by a constellation of satellites in outer space, he would have thought you were, if I may, high. Okay? There is no way that would, but yet we do. You can plant seeds to within 1.5 meters using global positioning system, and that's right now. They'll get better and better. It's doing more with less. You can plant the seeds so that they are fertilized just perfectly for every meter, every 0.5 meter of ground, so that the corn is more efficiently grown, the wheat's more efficiently grown, the ryegrass is more efficiently grown, and we feed more people with less fresh water, and so on. I had the great fun of driving recently the Nissan Leaf. The Leaf is going to be a cool car. I drove, it's very comfortable, and it has the great thing that electric vehicles have. I also drove the Chevy Volt, which is, I think it could be a world beater, I'm telling you. I think it could bring U.S. auto manufacturing back from wherever it was. If you've never driven an electric car, let me just tell you, you can hate cars, you can hate people who like cars, you can hate everything. You are a miserable everything hater. Fine. But these cars are sexy, I'm telling you. 0 to 50, 3.5 seconds. It's like, ugh. So cool. It is so cool because electric motors have their most torque, their most twist at 0 speed. It's not like a gas motor. It is, if I may, a whole nother thing. Now, the limitation, 100 miles, 40 miles on electricity. The Volt goes to gas, but that's a different problem. What we need, everybody, is a better battery. Right now, our batteries get electrons to jump from one molecule to the other, and they're big molecules. I mean, they're huge. These molecules are huge. Wait, they're molecules. I know, yeah, but they're small. They're small, but they're molecules. And getting the electrons to go through this toothpaste, this goo, is hard. They're resistant, literally. They have electrical resistance, and they warm up. So right now, people all over the world are working to make better batteries. See, if we had bicycles, you eat a bowl of oatmeal and you go 30 miles. We got nothing like that for a car. We're not even close. But my friends, if you could invent a better battery, whether we measure it in yuans, euros, or dollars, you would get rich. You would get crazy rich. You would get Bill Gates rich. You would get head of IKEA guy rich. And you don't have to invent it. You have to hire the kids, the 12-year-olds that will invent it. That's the way I describe it. Most patents are by people under 26 years old. You can hire them and manage them and change the world. Now, while we're managing things, I don't know anything about farming. I do raise a little garden. I enjoy it. But I'll tell you, you go to a world-famous restaurant. Hamburgers are 49 cents. A salad is $5. Now, I don't know anything about farming, but I got to tell you, raising a cow, feeding the cow, big land for the cow, water for the cow, killing the cow, eviscerating the cow, grinding the cow up, getting a hamburger bun, that's got to take more energy than lettuce. It's got to. It's got to. But we've messed it up. Just in our laws, by many, many traditions of compromise, we have taken it too far. That's a problem I want you guys to solve. It's not engineering, it's law. When you go to Beijing, on the roof of every apartment building is a solar hot water heater. And the reason they have the solar hot water heaters on the roof of apartment buildings is because the heat is free. Not because there are a bunch of hippies trying to live off the grid. Because the heat is free. Why we are not in the solar hot water business in this country is a bit of a mystery. Somebody could get rich. Okay, by the way, this is quite high tech. It's a fluid, a refrigerant, a coolant, a heatant. And the heat from the sun gets it warm, it boils, goes to the top, gives up its heat to that little scuba tank thing, and then circulates through the building. It's fabulous. This is me on the roof of my house. Well, actually, I'm over here. It's a picture of me on the roof of my house. And you can see I have 4 kilowatts of solar. My electric bill just went up, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, to $10 a month, $20 every 60 days. Fine. All right, and then in the foreground is, it used to be $7.31. In the foreground is my solar hot water system, which works okay. It's very good. Could be better. I had to get the sheet metal made to make it look good. And then in the rooms below, I have this dome. The brand name is Solitube. I'm not invested in Solitube, not yet. Anyway, it takes the sunlight and directs it down the tube. It's much more efficient than a skylight. Each of these 3 systems is existing technology that does more with less. My solar panels are on the roof. I had a roof anyway. Okay, it's just a tradition with me and my family. All right? And so my watch has solar panels and they're about 15% efficient. What if they were 50% efficient? Or even 35% efficient? Somebody could get rich. Now, from time to time, people come out of the woodwork. I got this idea. Don't worry about climate change. We'll put reflectors in space. We'll seed the ocean so that more green plants grow and suffocate fish. And wait, that's a bad idea. Okay, we'll make clouds behind the ocean liners. Fabulous. These are huge ideas, and we might need them. But I bet you there are huge economic opportunities in between those huge ideas. I'll bet you. And that's where I want you guys to change the world. Now, along that line, I meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of people who are a bit odd. And I got to say, this idea really intrigues me. This is a lagoon. I believe it's in Belize. There's a motorboat. You see the bubbles behind the motorboat are white. They're reflective. Well, if you go way back behind the motorboat, there's still bubbles, but they're hidden in the water, and they're about 1,000th of a millimeter, called them microbubbles. They're a few microns across. And if you look at it this way, you can get to where the bubbles are dissolved in the water, or and they'll last for weeks or months. And you have to kind of go A-B. You have to look at them side by side to even know that the bubbles are there. What if every ship around the world were dragging a bubble maker behind it? And then we could control the albedo, the whiteness of the Earth, with the World Bubble Council or something. It's an idea so crazy, it just might work. So keep an eye out for that, or you guys go in the bubble making business, please. Now, when I used to deliver the Washington Post, every week, there still is, Ripley's Believe It or Not, but a couple that really intrigued me. I called the company, they sent them to me, didn't ask any questions, really. Insects which have been flying for some 350 million years defy the laws of aerodynamics. Bees, bumblebees, considering its size, shape, and wingspan, is aerodynamic misfit, which should be unable to fly. Okay, look, I don't know how much time you've spent with bees. They fly fine. They got it worked out. The problem is the theory. That's right. Yes, that's the problem. So I submit to you, there is stuff right under our nose, things that we don't even notice, where there are huge economic opportunities, places where you could change the world. Now, I've taken a day job. I'm now the executive director of the Planetary Society, an organization started by Carl Sagan and 2 other guys, Lou Friedman and Bruce Murray. And we are building a solar sail. This would be a thing that's going to be pushed through space by the pressure of photons, not the solar wind, photons. A century ago, no one would even think of that because no one knew about relativity. It's a consequence of relativity. Just think what other discoveries are right there, right under our nose. Maybe things that literally pass through our bodies, like neutrinos, and we don't even know it. And those ideas will, dare I say it, change the world. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Bill, so much. I just have a 1-second question for you because we're almost out of time, but tell us really quickly about space weather and if there's anything we should be worrying about there.
Yeah, you should worry about space weather. Weather on the sun, and the word worry, I mean, your voters and taxpayers support it, the study of it. In the 1800s, if there were solar corona discharge on the sun, nobody's really concerned about it. Now, with the internet, with all our banking, all our financial transactions, all our agriculture, all our everything depending on electronics, and these satellites, which we all take for granted, orbiting the Earth and transmitting all this astonishing information all over the place, if those things get affected by a big magnetic event on the sun, it will be bad for everybody. We can design for it, we can plan for it, we can deal with it, but it's important. That's all, it's important. And by the way, what's the ideal spacecraft for keeping an eye on solar weather? That's right, a solar sail system somewhere, let's say, around the orbit of Venus. Very cool. Thank you.
Another round for Bill Nye, the Science Guy.